I'm going to stroke your cheek gently when I say this because I love you, you're my boo, and I don't want your feelings to be hurt. But manifestation is not going to work for you if you've experienced trauma. Not initially. And in this video, we're going to get into why that is the case. Also, I'm going to get into what you can do to have your manifestations brought into fruition if you've experienced trauma in this video as well. And along the way, I'll be providing journal prompts for you. So please stay until the end of the video. We're going to jump right into it. A small disclaimer, it's windy where I am. Also, I'm recording this in broad daylight in Brooklyn, New York City, and so it may be a little bit noise in the background, so please bear with me as well. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Sierra Janae, and this is Light and Love Limitlessly. You can think of me as a resource and guide on your journey to heal from trauma and loss. So jumping right in. So first and foremost, this is another disclaimer, but about manifestation this time. Manifestation is rooted in the law of attraction. The idea that the energy you hold, the thoughts you repeat, and the beliefs you embody shape what you attract into your life. But here's the real thing people tend to miss. Manifestation isn't about forcing a positive mindset. It's about being energetically aligned with what you are asking for. To manifest good things, you have to literally believe that you are good enough right now in the present. You have to believe you're capable, deserving enough to receive what you're calling in. So in a sense, it's not exactly all about manifesting what you want. It's really about who you believe yourself to be in the present moment. And the creator will test you to make sure everything you're asking for is in alignment with who you believe yourself to be. So that's just, a little hot take. So why does traditional manifestation advice fail trauma survivors? Well, if you think about it, manifestation actually encourages us to give up control, to let go, so to speak. And that doesn't always fly with people who have experienced trauma, because a lot of the time, people who have experienced trauma actually need a sense of control to feel safe. Manifestation advice also asks us to trust someone outside of ourselves or something outside of ourselves. And people who have experienced trauma often have trouble trusting people or trusting whatever, because when harm is done, one of the first things that can happen is a loss of trust. And lastly, manifestation tells us that we should believe we are worthy. Our self-esteem, our self-worth, and our self-value should be highly regarded. However, people who have experienced trauma, people who have become traumatized over time, often don't believe enough in themselves. So this is really the reason why manifestation will not work for people who have experienced trauma. So if that's the case, what can actually help people who have experienced trauma manifest the things in the life that they actually want? So the first thing that you can do if you've experienced trauma and you're looking to manifest certain things in your life or a certain lifestyle is to reclaim your power. Step into your power by rediscovering who it is that you actually are in the present moment. One of the things that you will need to work on is your sense of self, your sense of identity of who you are today outside of your trauma. And as someone who has experienced trauma myself, I know how easy it is to get kind of attached to the trauma that we've experienced in our lives. But we must remember that the trauma we've been through is not ours to carry forever, That doesn't mean that we're not validating what we've been through. It just means that we are able to and deserve to be able to walk away and let it go. And in the same vein, we also must let go of old narratives. So think about what does not fit you anymore. It could be something as little as a hair color, It can be friends, family members. It could be literally whoever or whatever. And so you may need to spend a little bit of time kind of understanding what your new identity is. Also, in this journey to rediscover who you are, along that journey, you may want to explore new habits or hobbies. Maybe you dropped a couple of hobbies. Like, for example, with me, I used to dance growing up. I used to do African dance and spiritual dancing and even like step and stuff like that. And those things kind of fell to the wayside as I grew up and got older over time. And so one of the things that I'm personally doing right now is trying to implement some of the things that I used to really love as a child, because one of my goals right now is to kind of have fun and to feed my inner child and to rediscover who I am as well. And so for this part, I have some journal prompts, and I'm just going to read my notes so that I remember what I say, because I like the way that they're worded. So with help for rediscovering who you are, here's 2 journal prompts. So the first is, what version of me is trying to emerge now? What does she or he need? The second is, what beliefs about myself no longer match who I'm becoming? So the second thing that you might want to do if you've experienced trauma and you're trying to manifest certain things into your life is to take small steps to learn how to trust yourself again. Some things we may need to do to rebuild trust for ourselves and within ourselves, maybe forgiving ourselves for anything that's associated with like the past trauma that we've experienced. We may want to release guilt or shame. And another thing that we need to kind of do is to get within our bodies again. If we've, lost touch with how we feel on the inside, or if we haven't been exercising or taking care of our bodies as much as we should be, we can do some embodiment practices like yoga, breath work, stretching. I personally love stretching. I stretch almost every single day. So just doing things to get ourselves grounded in our bodies again, to promote safety within ourselves, because, when we've experienced trauma, safety is one of those things that just goes out of the window. And that's why a lot of us navigate the world after experiencing trauma kind of in this fear-based kind of place. And so we have to establish safety. So 2 journal prompts for establishing trust for ourselves. Where did I learn that I couldn't trust my needs, feelings, or intuition? And what boundaries do I need with myself or others to rebuild trust? Now, lastly, I feel like this one is probably the most difficult to do for a lot of people. And that is, we have to make the decision that we are worthy, regardless of if we truly believe it or not. So in a sense, we are having to say we are worthy even before we feel it. One of the things that I found to help me are mantras to kind of rebuild up my self-esteem and things like that. And so I have a mantra for you. And that mantra is, and you can say this to yourself whenever you feel like you can or want to: I am worthy. I deserve to exist, feel love, be treated well, and live a beautiful, abundant life. As the brain science points out, your brain can't really tell the difference between a thought that you believe versus one that you don't, or it's something along the lines of that. I will have to go back into my trauma program to kind of figure that part out. But you understand what I'm saying. Basically, your brain can't tell the difference. Okay, so the more that you repeat those thoughts to yourself, the more they will actually appear real to you over time. So what if a mantra isn't going to work for you? Unfortunately, you might just have to get to the point where you grow extremely tired of, living the life that you've been living, dealing with the people that you've been dealing with, doing the things that you've been doing. And I guess that's me giving you tough love, right? Because in this world, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to. You may have heard that already, but it really is true. To me, at least, it's true. There's nothing in this world that makes you less than someone else. Nothing at all. You are a unique individual. Your perspective is different from others. Your gifts are different than others. You bring something to the world that is needed, or else you will not have been here, okay? Or else you would not be here. Sometimes you have to hit that moment where all that's left to do is rise. And so that may be your case, which It's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes that is the case for some of us. However, one way that you'll know that you're ready to claim your worth, reclaim your worth, is by doing something big, letting something big go. Something that has played a role in allowing you to believe that you are not worthy. This could be a relationship, a belief, a coping mechanism, a religion. It could be whatever it is. For me, it was my ex, and I got to the point where I really had to ask myself, can I continue to do this, relationship? I got to the point where I was done with not being valued, heard, or seen. And just to keep it cute and classy without going into detail, when I asked myself and realized the answer, was no, and that I was not willing to continue on, that's when I really knew that I was done. And so I made a big leap and I left, right? And so it might be the case for you too. You may have to leave someone that you've been in a relationship for a long time with, or it may be something else. Maybe you have to move to another state. Maybe you have to cut off a friendship or something of that nature. You'll know what it is that you need to do, because this thing will keep on nagging you. You will know what you have to do. Sometimes God puts us in this position where that's the case, and I use God loosely, divine creator, whoever, whatever entity that you believe, but I personally believe in God and divine and the creator, and so that's why I'm saying that. But like I said, sometimes you are just placed in that position where you really have to make a decision and choose yourself. So I ask you this question: aren't you ready or tired enough to reclaim yourself? To liberate yourself from the things in your life that have been holding you back? Aren't you ready to feel good in your skin again? To breathe again? To know who you are again? To do things that you love again? That was more than one question, right? But you get my point. So here are 2 journal prompts to help you with this piece. What would my life look like if I truly believed, I am worthy? What am I afraid will happen if I fully step into my worth? So that brings me to the end of this video. Once you get these things down, it's never going to be probably perfect, but because we all have these moments, when we go through lows and things like that. And so it may not be perfect, but Creator will definitely notice your changes and bring things into your life once you do this work a little bit more. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please let me know in the comments that it was. Maybe you want to share a mantra. Maybe you want to share some steps you took as someone who has experienced trauma that may be helpful to other people. Please do so if that's the case in the comments below. Please support my channel so I can reach more people who resonate with this content. In a sidebar, please note that I am not a therapist, okay? Child, I am not a therapist. I am not a licensed mental health professional. I am a trauma-informed practitioner, and I am a grief coach, yes. I'm also a personal trainer and group fitness instructor, and a nutrition coach. And so I have this, the wellness aspect down and things like that. But I have to stay in my lane, and so I can only say so much, right? But I have experienced trauma and grief, and so I know how it feels to go through those things and can resonate with you if you have as well. So that's all for now. Make sure to hit the notifications bell, to subscribe, to like, to share, and to comment below. Until next time, sending you limitless love and light. Bye.